What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and another Hail Caesar review here. We're moving on to the Merovingian Franks today, which is a fun one. So another 5th through 6th centuries AD roughly list, so as far as time periods go. And again, we said this is an interesting one, so again, in comparison to some of the other ones we've been looking at lately, certainly you got some powerhouse tools in here, and if you're looking for basically a infantry-heavy list, this is definitely going to be the one for you. We haven't seen this in a little while, but this is one where, infantry, as you can see in the description there, is going to require at least 75% or more of the army to be infantry. So again, not going to be a speedy army, not going to be all kinds of cavalry shenanigans going on here. You got just a minimal amount of that. So you could go 100% infantry if you want, but again, it's always worth looking at, seeing what our cavalry can offer us in these lists. But again, only up to 10% of the army. So if you're going to play a smaller game, you're probably just going to have like one unit of cavalry, unless you're playing something rather large, multiple divisions and so on and so forth. Again, you might have, two cavalry units in a larger game here. So of the infantry, though, very specialized here. So Frankish medium infantry have to be 50% or more of the infantry. And again, non-skirmisher infantry, of course. Normal division rules here, although again, maximum of one bodyguard unit. We'll take a look at that as normal here, so some common sense stuff. And again, just like the Welsh that we looked at before, not a super huge list. There are some pretty cool options, but again, it's not one of these like giant powerhouse lists where it's like a page or more that we've seen, some of the Romans and other newer things. So the Frankish medium infantry, let's jump right in, because again, that's going to be our bread and butter here, and we have multiple upgrade paths in here. So medium infantry with spears and shields. Key note here, these are not warbands, so these are just actual normal units. So your generic medium infantry profile there, but again, spears and shields. Now we can give them an upgrade here to the heavy throwing axes, which effectively for rules purposes count as pila. Now we are getting taxed 3 points for that, but again, something to possibly factor in. Now we can reduce these guys to also run a bunch of levies, but up to basically, and there's going to be some math here, right? Because again, 75% or more infantry, 50% or more of the infantry have to be these medium infantry, and then half of them, up to half, can be downgraded to levy for a nice little points break. So you could have some levy with the throwing axes too, so just to wash that out. And then one unit, and again, always worth taking these special like bodyguard or elite units here. So one of them, and the cool thing here is for 5 points. So it's a pretty hefty tax, but we're still clocking in under 30 points for the unit, and we essentially get a sort of pseudo heavy infantry out of it, actually. So for 5 points, what are we getting? We're getting an extra clash and sustain, which is huge. Again, fighting like a heavy infantry unit. Now we don't get the corresponding morale save, so we are still at medium infantry as far as the defense goes, but we also get that awesome elite special rule for them. So for 5 points, and again, it's a one of centerpiece of your army, you might as well go with that, right? Definitely don't just be very, very careful of that unit. Don't just be frivolous with it. Try to get the most out of that as you can. Decent light archers here, light infantry archers, so as small units, your basic profile there does seem a little bit more expensive than in some of the other armies. Usually that stuff clocking in around 13 or so points. Here it's 14. I'm not sure, I think maybe because we're actually getting a 6-up morale, whereas I think some of the others didn't have those. I'm not sure, but it does seem a little bit more expensive. But again, you do have to have a little bit of range, and as you can see, that's really your only long range in the army. So it's definitely worth investing in some of those, at least just to have nominal amounts of that. Otherwise, you're going to be very one-dimensional with the, again, medium infantry being the bread and butter here. You're going to have to find something to get a little bit of advantage over some of the better enemy armies and units that are out there. Very basic, very modest skirmisher package here, and we're just getting the javelin package. So this one's normal costed here, 11 points. Skirmishers with javelins for small units there, and 11 points. Our cavalry option, so this is the interesting part, right? Basically, again, up to 10% can be cavalry, so 1 in 10 units can be that. So it seems like we're, basically going to gravitate towards the medium cavalry, because that's going to be our hardest hitting unit in the whole army. It's curious that they have the light cavalry in here, so we'll take a look at that one first. So light cavalry with javelins or spears. Now we get that pretty solid clash of 7 out of them, and then sustain 5. So they're not going to be, doing a lot of staying power. But again, when they got to get that charge in, that could be pretty useful. So again, hunting down vulnerable enemy things, I think, if you're going with that unit. But if we're going with the medium cavalry, which again I think should be our first choice clearly, and the fact again that we, if you're going to have literally just one cavalry unit, you might as well also get the cavalry bodyguard unit out of it, right? So medium cavalry with spears and or javelins, 27 points. So again, fairly expensive, but it is cavalry, right? So we're gonna get that clash 8 out of it, sustain 5. So that definitely is a nasty drop off. But again, we gotta hope that we're doing as much possible damage as possible right away. But again, if this is going to be our one of, there's literally no reason to not spend the extra points or find that in your list. Again, make it the bodyguard unit, and just like with the infantry, we're going to go up to clash of 9. So again, we're going to punch like we're a heavy cavalry unit. We're not going to get the morale save out of it, but our bumps are sustained up to 6 as well, so a little bit more respectable. And we're going to get elite out of that. So I think that's the clear choice. The light cavalry really, I would say, for maybe truly large games where you can afford to have multiple cavalry units, again, given the restrictions that we have in the list here. So again, that is a bit rough. So yeah, that's at least in my opinion, the clear option there. And then thankfully we have level 8 or leadership 8 commanders here. So making it all kind of work together, because this list is unfortunately, like I said, rather inflexible. And the medium infantry is going to do solid against a lot of the contemporary things that we have for this time period. But again, some of the other lists, if you're going a little bit outside the time period in either direction, or just against some of the other maybe more powerhouse things that are still contemporary, this is going to be a tough one, but could be fun to field certainly, and something unique on the tabletop. So again, a little bit less common of a list, but again, could be a cool project. So an interesting challenge too, just to make it work and see what can be done here. Now, of course, a savvy opponent is going to know essentially what, if you're running the 2 bodyguard units, that's going to be the most dangerous things in your army, and they can probably take steps to mitigate that. But so you're gonna have to try and definitely get the most mileage out of your 2 bodyguard units, and then just play super smart. And I would say field as many of the archer skirmishers as you can, or not archer, the light infantry archers, sorry, not the skirmishers, but as many of those for the long range as possible. That's again still part of your infantry restrictions, and then the skirmishers, as many as you can afford there, just to again harass and do as much as you can just to soften things up for your combat guys. So let us know, guys, if you have played the Franks, the Merovingian Franks, what you think of it, and any experiences with those. So hit us up in the comments there, guys. Like and subscribe. We'll have more for you here soon with our Hail Caesar reviews. Take care.